LambtonFarms.com? Okay.
You have the pool chlorine there. Did you want to
Yeah,
mention
you know,
anything
this
about
is
that?
another way to purify water. You know, you asked a good question. Why don't you just take bleach? You know, why can't you just use bleach? You can. Bleach, you know, it only has a 1-year shelf life. You don't want it to, and it's liquid. It can break. You don't want it to mix with things or whatever. The pool chlorine is also a purifier. You can put it in and it will kill everything. It doesn't filter, so it doesn't make brown water clear, but it will kill everything. The advantage of this is it's dry and you use so very little. For 1 gallon, you use like a pinch, 1/8 of a teaspoon or less. So for this 1 pound that cost about $8, can you imagine how many that would purify if you're only using 1/8 of a teaspoon for a gallon? Here's the problem. This is very, very potent, and you don't want to be drinking it because if you keep drinking water that's been chlorinated, it can eventually be fatal. I mean, you've got to be very careful. I love the fact that this is dry, indefinite shelf life. You know, it's concentrated. I can store that. I mean, this will go so much further and last so much longer than if I had gallons of bleach. But it's very potent. I tell people, if you choose to use a pool chlorine, absolutely you have to store the chlorine strips. You need to test that water for the chlorine before you drink it. Normally, if you will let it sit for 24 hours, you are okay. You are okay, but if you have any question, you have to use the chlorine strips because you want to, I mean, we're trying to live here. we don't want to die while trying to live, right? By killing ourselves with the chlorine. So I love the fact that it's cheap, it's easy and definite, but this is one you have to be very careful with. 1/8 of a teaspoon at the most for a gallon, and then let it sit. Let it sit for 24 hours. Anything you want to add to that? Yeah.
What are your concerns with using hot tub water and pool water as a potable water source as long as you're shocking it with chlorine and or making sure that it's completely filtered?
Simply because humans have been in it. You know, if you filter them, a lot of these filters that will purify and filter will take care of swimming pool water. AquaRain actually says they can take swimming pool water and make it drinking water, but it has to go through a filtration process, absolutely. You can't use it straight. You can use it for hygiene purposes, you could use it to wash your clothes, but straight, you cannot use it for food preparation or for drinking water. You'd have to filter it in some way.
But after the filtration and purification process, you're fine with that?
The stats say you should be fine with that.
Okay.
All the lab reports say that you should be fine, that they can, have I tested it? No, I haven't. But they do say they can take swimming pool water, the AquaRain does, and they can make it drinking water. They cannot take salt water, like ocean water, because that's the first thing all my friends in California said was, will it desalinate? Can we take ocean water and make it drinking water? It will not. It will not. Susan?
Yeah, because that's the one thing I've heard, and I don't know whether it's true or not, is that there's a certain amount of salts and stuff that is in the pool water, and that it's very hard on our kidneys and stuff like that, and that's one of the concerns if you were to...
If you were to take it out. If you can strip all of that out, then you can. Now, some people don't use the chlorine. They actually use a salt. I don't have a pool, but there are other things. So you'd have to really make sure that the filtration system that you're using is filtering out the chemicals that you're putting in your pool. I would be very careful and be quite particular in making sure that were happening before I just trust something. You know, I do a little research on it. I do some research.
Are there any other products there you haven't covered?
Funny,
so
huh?
can get
Yeah,
those
anybody else? No, these are just some little water pouches. These are 4 ounces each, and if you look, a lot of people will put 6, in a 72-hour kit. That's what the U.S. Coast Guard, and these will come out and say U.S. Coast Guard approved. It was just a sample of the water, how easy it is to store water in your emergency packs, because you need to go back to make sure 8 ounces. And that's your minimum. I always say, as space and weight allows in your pack, add more water. Add more water. Good. Any more questions? Great. I think we'll have, the order form will be on the website. It will also come out in an email. And we're good to go,
I
yeah.
did think of another question.
Okay, that's all right, that's a good place
So,
for it.
If there's 50% off on the product that you've been mentioning,
Yes.
it's coming out with radon-free filter in 3 months or so. Are there arrangements that we can also get in on that or not?
You know, we don't right now.
Okay.
If something happens in 9 months, or in 6 months, or 60 days, whatever, and I contact and say, hey, we want to do this, maybe we can get it on an order form, but at this point,
We do this about once a year, every year and a half, 2 years, so maybe the next time around, if
that
it's
we
available,
do, that we
could
do water
possibly-
again if it's available, yeah.
Is there a way of testing water? I mean, where I've got about 5,000 gallon water tank at my cabin, and how do I know if it's pure enough to drink?
What kind of water did you put in it to
Well, I
begin with?
put water that is already, well, like tap water that you
Like city
use.
water, municipal
But
water?
how long would that last? I always put about a quart of bleach in it when I put it in for the winter.
Yeah, you know, I would take it too, but there are water labs, in fact, I've got names. We actually contracted with a water lab, because at one time, we wanted to do this ourselves. We were gonna do hands-on, we were gonna put that water through and have it all tested. There are water labs you can take your water to and have it tested. I don't remember the name right off the top of my head,
But they're here in.
but, oh yeah,
Yes,
they're
I
here.
Ford is the big one.
What's that?
Ford Labs is the
Ford
big one.
Labs? Yeah, yeah. And I checked, last time I checked, they were $24 for a test. So if you want, it was, I don't know if it was Ford, but it was the place I called. And if you wanted to do full testing on it, they were gonna charge $24
And when
to do your
the
testing.
Utah State University Extension Service do it as well, probably.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. I think there are water labs. I bet you could even go down to the county water system and ask them. But as far as a home testing, that would be kind of a cool thing. Anybody want a business idea? That would be very cool. But I don't know of a home testing one. I would take it to a water lab, is where I'd go. Great, any other questions? Going? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here tonight. If you have any questions, please come up, feel free to ask me. And if you want to open these up, we can look at them, we can test them, you can see how they work, you can read the labels. Please feel free to do that as well. And thank you.
Thank you, Tami. Appreciate you so much. That was a wealth of information. That was awesome. Our next class in June is going to be on solar power. We did the Goal Zero stuff just recently, but Goal Zero will only be able to do so much stuff, and so we want to talk about what would be the next step. Kind of what would you want to do if you wanted to do something a little bit more than what Goal Zero could handle, or for a little bit longer. For instance, it's great at doing lights, it can do your laptop, but if you wanted to run your wheat grinder or a Bosch mixer or something like that, your Goal Zero isn't going to quite be able to handle that, so we're going to teach you a little bit how to put together a system that could do a little bit more. So, do you want to say anything more about it?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Good
Anything else?
Teach you all
Order
about
form will be
solar.
coming through on your emails fairly shortly. So, and that's it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.